Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. As you can probably tell, I'm a little not well, but I still wanted to get a video out for you, and probably not going to be too long today, but I did find a little bit of something to talk about, so we'll see how long I make it. While poking around looking for something to talk about, I stumbled across this video, and I couldn't help but think, this sounds like they're trying to cover their ass. It says here, yes, the Veilguard's Darkspawn really do look goofy for a lore reason. I'm sorry, there is no lore reason that could make them look goofy. But okay. Having read the article, they go on to talk about how previous versions of the Darkspawn seem to be mindless, witless hordes with no personality behind them that didn't do anything but attack. You're going from these creatures that feel up to this point kind of mindless, they're kind of swarming, to there now feels there's almost a central intelligence behind them. Tell me you didn't play the previous games without telling me you didn't play the previous games. There has always been a central intelligence behind the Darkspawn. That has always been an acknowledged piece of the lore. What they didn't know is where the demons, the dragons that would rise up to control and send out the Darkspawn came from. They didn't know that. It's actually explored to some degree in DragonAge Awakenings when you do that whole playthrough where you meet the architect. So the idea that they had nothing behind them, that they felt like there was nothing behind them before, they've always felt like that. They've always felt like there was something further behind them. That's always been alluded to in the lore. So I don't know what they're talking about. Quite literally. This whole thing about where they're going with this. The game director, Corian Bush, says, it is certainly a lore narrative that we reinforce throughout the adventure that the Song of the Blight, it sounds different. There's something alive and unnatural about it. You can feel Gulnanin's, I'm not even going to pretend if I know I'm pronouncing that right or not at this point, influence over this otherwise kind of decrepit, almost immobile entity before. What? What I love as it relates to the Darkspawn as an enemy faction is the freedom it allowed the gameplay team to have fun with the palette, to explore new possibilities. Darkspawn that are literally ripping off parts of themselves and throwing it into the thick of the battlefield. Now, I will give them a tiny bit of benefit of the doubt in that they are poorly wording what they are, that they are potentially poorly wording what they're saying. What they might be trying to say is that it feels like there's a more powerful entity behind them now, that this is the source of the original everything that was going on before, as opposed to saying what it sounds like they're saying, which is that absolutely no one before had any idea about any of this, and the Darkspawn just felt like they were uncontrolled, because realistically, that's stupid. It's the only way to define that. It is absolutely stupid to even infer that when you have a literal DLC devoted to it at the end of the first game. You know? And maybe I'm sick. Maybe I'm sick and I'm reading it wrong. This is a possibility. I won't lie, because when I'm ill, my brain doesn't quite function correctly. But I'm reasonably positive in my read on this. Here you have on the screen an image of a Darkspawn from DragonAge the Veilguard and another of a Darkspawn from DragonAge 2. Tell me which one looks better. Go ahead, I'll wait. Oh no, sorry, I can't hear you. Obviously, I think DragonAge 2 looks better. I'm not sure what your opinion was, but the one on the left there reminds me more of this than it does this. I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to go for with this. I don't find what they're doing particularly frightening. It fails on the gross factor, as a matter of fact, and I'm guessing with the idea that they're tearing off pieces of themselves. The idea is maybe they're tearing off their skin or something. I don't know. This guy really doesn't make it any better. If anything, he looks even more like the zombie from Return of the Living Dead than the other guy did. And this is not a lore issue right here. What we're looking at is not something that you do for lore. This is a graphics and art choice issue. With the graphics they went with, there was no way that they were going to be able to achieve something more like this than this. There's just no way. I just feel like there's no way that they would ever capture the utter grossness of the Broodmother with this art style they're using. And so they have to fall back on this idea that there's a lore reason that they look goofy, as opposed to just admitting we used a style that doesn't really achieve the same kind of look that previous games had. Even in Inquisition, they didn't look so cartoony. So this is not a lore thing. This is an art direction choice, and trying to shove it off on lore is absolutely ridiculous. I won't even pretend otherwise. Trying to word it in such a way where you don't acknowledge the idea of what came before in the lore. The fact that the Darkspawn have always been centrally controlled by something else. The fact that the idea that the blight has been changing is something that started in Awakenings. They're either very poorly wording what they're trying to say, or they're just lying. And honestly, I wouldn't put the second one past them at all. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a third option where they just don't know what they're talking about. And either way, I find it ridiculous. All that said, it is time for the weekly reminder that if you would like to support the channel, you can use the link below to become a member. I would greatly appreciate that if you do, but if you don't, what matters most to me is that you spend the most precious commodity that you have being here, and that is your time. While I appreciate my members oh so much, the fact that anybody spends any amount of time listening to me is something I am insanely grateful for. If memberships aren't your thing, I do also have a throne wish list. It's mostly stuff for my pets and a couple things for my setup and one or two little things that I just thought were neat. But absolutely no requirements or expectations. I'm just know that if I don't remind people or mention it, nobody knows it's there. That said, I do want to extend my deepest thanks to those who are members on the channel. That is DX Machina and Z, Emperor Doomsday, Zan Zoltan, Snake Oil Sean, Schmitted, Elmogo, Green-Haired Anti-Liberal, Michael Wheeler, Adam Splitter, and D-Day Direwolf. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments, and thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.